Hi, sixth graders. This is Trendell here from SCAZA. Let's start with our review from last lesson. Okay, so in our last lesson, we talked about alcohol and its effects on the body. We talked about how alcohol is a depressant drug. Okay, so it slows down the body and the way it works. Okay, so it slows your breathing or someone's breathing, their heart rate. It lowers the body temperature. It slows your reflexes and causes loss of balance. Okay, impairs judgment and ability to make decisions. And it impacts the ability to learn. Okay, so with all of those negative effects, I want you to think how underage drinking can keep people from reaching their goals. All right, so today we're going to talk about another drug that affects people's health and their ability to reach their goals. Okay, this drug is highly addictive. What does addictive mean? Addictive means that the person feels like they must have the drug, okay, and the person will continue using even when the drug causes them problems or makes them ill. Okay, this drug is nicotine. So we're going to look at the effects of nicotine use and also the stages of addiction. We're going to start by talking about the health risks of using nicotine and tobacco products. So nicotine is an addictive chemical in all tobacco products. So no matter how tobacco products are packaged or used, they all contain nicotine. So cigarettes are one type of tobacco product. You can see on the slide another type of tobacco product, or other types of tobacco products would be cigars, pipe tobacco, chewing tobacco, dip, and also electronic devices or e-cigarettes or vapes. Okay, so vapes are a fairly new product. I think they came out in around 2007. And vapes were originally produced to quote unquote help people or adults to quit smoking. Okay, but then the manufacturers of vapes used advertising tactics. And remember, a tactic or an advertising tactic would be to get, or a way that they could get as many people to use their product for as long as they can. Remember, what's behind advertising is for a company to be able to make as much money as they can. Okay, so they advertised with flavorings that were attractive to young people and also showed young people vaping. Okay, so they made it look glamorous and cool to young people. So there have actually been legal action taken against the vaping companies for advertising to minors. Since then, we have had New York State has banned flavorings. And also, New York State has raised the age to 21. Okay, so the legal age to purchase any tobacco products, just like the age of purchasing alcohol, they raised the age from 18 to 21. Okay, and they did this to protect young people and to make it harder for them to get addicted. Because when we talk about addiction, the younger people try a drug, the more likely they can become addicted. Do you think that someone who tries alcohol or a tobacco product with nicotine or any other drug just even one time, do you think that they expect to be using the drug for many years to come? Most likely the answer is no. Addiction develops in stages. Okay, the user is often unaware of the developing addiction until it is too late. Chances are the first time won't be the last. So we're going to look at these stages of addiction in more detail. Stage 1 of addiction is called experimental use. Okay, so this is the first time use of a substance. The first time use of a substance is a choice by that person or a decision that they make. And this person may or may not use again. Okay, so the teenagers in this picture are not real teens using substances. It's just a dramatization. And it looks like the person is giving into peer pressure, negative peer pressure. So a lot of times it's at a party or a setting, social setting, and the person or the teen might not stop and think about the negative consequences. They might make an impulsive choice. Okay, and there's a misconception among teenagers that using one time is harmless. But if, for example, when someone vapes or uses e-cigarettes, they might not be aware of the nicotine content. And for example, one vape pod can have the nicotine amount of one pack of cigarettes, so 20 cigarettes. So that the nicotine content is extremely high, and it might only take that person one time to become to the point where they're going to want another cigarette. Okay, and they might fall into that second stage of addiction. Okay, so stage 2 is called pattern use. Pattern use. At this stage, the decision to use the drug is still a choice. Okay, so the user is still making that choice. And the user does not use all the time. They don't use the drug alone, but rather in social settings or situations if the drug is around. Okay, so they're not buying it, going out and seeking and buying it themselves. The user does not experience withdrawal symptoms yet, but the user's body is developing a tolerance to the substance. So what does it mean to have a tolerance to a drug? Okay, so a tolerance means that the body will need more of the drug to produce the same effect. The body will begin to need the drug to feel normal. Okay, so pattern use stage, the user will begin needing increased amounts of the drug to produce the same effect as a previous dose. Okay, stage 3 is called problem use. At this stage, the ability to use the drug becomes a primary focus. The user may begin to experience withdrawal symptoms. Withdrawal begins when the user stops taking the drug and starts to experience uncomfortable symptoms without the drug. Okay, so if someone wakes up in the morning and does not have the drug, they might start to feel those physical symptoms. And these withdrawal symptoms differ depending on the type of drug used. Some withdrawal symptoms might be a headache, nausea, anxiety, sweating, insomnia, or not being able to sleep, or decreased appetite. So nicotine dependence may cause a user to experience severe headaches or irritability when they aren't using. So this is when the drug user will do what is necessary to get that drug to stop those symptoms from happening. In this problem use stage, normal behaviors start to change. Activities like sports and academics become less important. Relationships and friendships start to suffer. The user will start to spend more time with other people who have the drug and less time with their old friends. Okay, and the drug begins to run the user's life. Okay, so this leads us to stage 4, which is addiction. At this stage, the desire to find and use the drug is all the person can think about, okay, despite the negative consequences of its use. Okay, drug use is no longer a choice. The cravings become so strong that the user must have the drug on a regular basis just to feel normal. Depending on the drug, physical changes like weight loss or tooth decay develop. And addicted users may turn to risky behaviors like stealing or doing whatever it takes to get money to feed their addiction. Next, we're going to take a closer look at the nicotine or effects of nicotine use. We're going to, on the next slide, play a game called a health gamble. Okay, so In this game, you're going to build a story of a teenager that became addicted to nicotine. So on the left part of this slide, the first page, this is a copy from the workbook that goes along with our curriculum. And although you do not have the workbook, we're still going to be able to do this activity. Okay, so you're going to need a sheet of paper. And if you have a die available, that would be great. If not, you do not need one. Okay, what I would like you to do is pick one of the characters. Okay, so either Carlisle or Darcy, and write their name on the top of your paper. Okay, and then you're going to write, just like they have here, you're going to write role 1, short-term goal, role 2, activity, social activity, role 3, future life goal. So as you go down the paper, okay, role 4, short-term effect, role 5, social consequence, and role 6, tobacco-related disease. Now, when you go back to number 1 or role number 1, what I want you to do is look on the right side of the slide. This is your activity grid. Okay, and it contains, on the right side of the grid, it contains the negative effects of tobacco. So we have short-term effects, we have social consequences, and we have tobacco-related diseases such as heart disease, bronchitis, lung cancer, emphysema. Okay, just a few. In the first part of that activity grid, we have typical teenage short-term goals, social activities, and future life goals. So when you roll your die for the first time, number 1 roll, if it lands on a 2 and you're under the column roll 1 short-term goals, you would write down for your character, learns how to swim the butterfly stroke. Okay. If you do not have a die, you're just going to pick one of those 6 short-term goals, and you're going to write it on your piece of paper under roll 1 short-term goal. Then you're going to roll again for social activities, roll number 2, okay? Or you're going to pick between those 6 social activities. You're going to write it on your piece of paper under social activity. Okay, so you're going to go through and do that for 6 rolls for those 6 categories. And when you're done, I want you to answer the questions on the bottom. Okay, so seeing all those categories and the examples from each category, or you're going to answer the questions. The first one, how will the short-term effect of tobacco use affect your character's short-term goal? Number 2, how will the social consequence of tobacco use affect your character's social activity? And number 3, how will the long-term effect of tobacco use affect your character's future life goals? Okay, so that's what I want you to answer. I'm sorry that it's a little hard to see, and you're definitely going to need to pause the slide to complete this activity. Okay, if it's accessible and a friend that's nearby without getting up, if you'd like to share your answers after without getting out of your seat, that would be fine also. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, so a long time ago, smoking was first linked to lung cancer. Okay, scientists have had many, many years to come up with the extensive list of negative health effects on the body. So vaping was introduced to the United States commercially in 2006. Scientists have had a very short time to see the negative health effects, even though they've seen short-term health effects like mouth and throat irritation, nicotine addiction, coughing and wheezing, worsening asthma, chest pain, raised blood pressure, raised heart rate, and upset stomach and nausea. Scientists still do not know the long-term effects of vaping. So now that we've talked about the negative health consequences, I want you to think and think how nicotine could interfere with your ability to reach your goals. Okay, so we looked at the two characters and their goals that they had in life, but now I want you to think of your goals. Okay, how could the drug nicotine interfere with your ability to reach your goals? Next, I want you to think that if you were in a situation, you were asked to try a vape or smoke a cigarette, how would you refuse the peer pressure? Okay, would you state the facts? Talk about the negative effects of smoking and of vaping? What would you do? Okay, so knowing these negative effects and how it could impact your life in a negative way, the smart choice is to choose to be tobacco-free. Okay, so please feel free to email me at scazaprevention@gmail.com with any questions or comments that you might have. Next week we'll be talking about the effects of THC and marijuana use. Right? Thank you.